Up the first set of steps the adventurers went, with a glowing green, no it wasn't, orange giraffe in the background. Rather strange, obviously. They looked up at the doorway ahead of them and slowly moved towards it. It took a while to get there, mainly because the imp that was painting the photographs was taking their time and had a very limited palette of colours, and therefore needed the characters to move quite slowly. But eventually they reached the top and pushed their way in through the open door into a small vestibule. Almost immediately they were confronted by the ghost of a long dead dwarf who was laid on the floor. Quite useful really, gave them some useful information which may allow them to escape an encounter later in the game. Very good. Excellent stuff. They moved on through the doorway and came to a large open refectory room with tables down the middle and braziers, food left out, but all was empty. No one was to be seen, no Nevom. And there at their feet was a dead body of a barbarian, and he had a bag, so nobody wanted to touch it, but Feroth said, "Oh, come on, I'll let it go." Picked it up and was immediately skewered by a huge spear. Struck him quite badly and damaged him quite severely. And in the corner, far away from the rest of the adventurers, a wight suddenly blipped into existence. The rest of our crew saw him from a distance and realized that there was something afoot in Nevom's tower. Immediately, a whole group of shambling zombies appeared before the crew. It would look as if there was going to be a fight. They were quite a distance away, and meeting them was going to be quite difficult. Now, Gwendgoth cast a spell almost immediately. I can't think of the name of it just offhand. I'm sure she knows what it is, and it turned one of the zombies to goo, and that zombie then hurt the zombie next to it. It flailed about in its agony. It managed not to hurt the wight, which was very lucky for the wight, but still, two of the zombies were dashed before any of the adventurers even moved at this point. There's the green goo, and there's the zombie dead on the floor. Gwendgoth quickly leapt across the room and confronted the one zombie that was left on the far left-hand side and dispatched him quickly, as you can see from this. This left just the wight and I think 3 more zombies on the right-hand side to deal with. Feroth tried to cast a lightning bolt on the wight, however, with a toughness of 6 for his armour. This had no effect. It's a complete waste of time. In a daring do-dash, that's the right phrase, Azraella leapt across the room and jumped on the table to attack the 3 zombies that were lurking on the right. He dispatched one very quickly, but the other 2 were less easy to slay and attacked him back. At the same time, the wight strode across the room towards Blackhead Bell, who had advanced upon him and started a combat. Gwendgoth, having finished off the last zombie, turned her attention to the wight in the centre and attacked him from the side. Feroth, very gallantly, hid behind Blackhead Bill and cast heal on himself and Azraella, as they'd both been hurt. Azraella dispatched 1 zombie, while Blackhead Bill hit the wight for 5 wounds. At this point, we're a bit worried that we were going to be attacked back. Not we, the characters I should say. Feroth cast Confuse upon the wight. so that he could not attack at all. Gwendgoth and Blackhead Bill continued to strike out at him, and very quickly, with the help of Azraella, dispatched him. The characters looked around the room and found that all the food was decayed and somewhat past eating. There was some evidence of cake and biscuit, but at the same time none of it was edible. They were very, very disappointed. Blackhead Bill particularly liked the idea of perhaps nibbling on a biscuit or two as he wandered across the room towards the doorway, far off, healing himself and Azraella, who both suffered wounds, as they walked across. Moving through the doorway and up a set of stairs, grim dark stairs, our adventurers continued on to the next floor of the tower. Then suddenly they were surrounded, a ghost to the front of them. And a ghost to the rear. What were they to do? Knives flashed and swords were quickly used, and the ghost at the front was hurt for 5 wounds, whilst Faroth decided it was time to hug a ghost. It was hug a ghost day as far as Faroth was concerned. Blackhead Bill had done 6 wounds to him, but Faroth felt he needed a cuddle. He needed to be loved. Well, for a while anyway, before he slew him, and then cast Confuse on the ghost at the top of the stairs. This is Faroth saying, "Get thee gone," I believe, something like that. Azraella and Gwendgoth continued to beat the living daylights out of the ghost at the top of the stairs, even received no attacks back whatsoever. They moved on quickly into what appeared to be a wizard's study, and almost immediately they were surrounded on both sides and the front by a whole group of skeletons that just materialized out of thin air. Gwendgoth had one almost behind her, and Faroth had one to the side of him. Faroth set about healing herself and Azraella once more, as these two seemed to be getting the bulk of the wounds all the time in this particular adventure. Then Gwendgoth got rid of her skeleton adversary, and Blackhead Bill and Azraella sped across the room and started to attack. Faroth managed to cast a lightning bolt on the nearby skeleton, destroying him, and then healed herself and Azraella once more. Now these skeletons were quite difficult to kill because the adventurers kept on knocking them to the ground and taking off many of their wounds, but unfortunately not quite killing them. And then, of course, they would regenerate and they would clamber back up again. The horror. Oh, the horror. Mrs. Faroth taking a moment out to look at a book that he found on the nearby table, while Blackhead Bill and Azraella and Gwendgoth set about destroying all but the last 2 skeletons. Down to just the last skeleton, things were looking grim. For the skeleton, obviously. At this point, Azraella leapt, though Gwendgoth, I beg your pardon. Gwendgoth leapt across the room, and astride the table she rained down a flurry of blows upon the last skeleton, and utterly missed them all. Faroth healed yourself and Azraela one more time, and then the adventurers passed on into the next room, which seemed dark and forbidding and full of menace and vile smells. It was obviously some sort of torture chamber. There was a horrible rack, and there was a cage, and suddenly the whole room was full of ghouls, evil, vile-smelling ghouls which attacked our adventurers. Now these chaps proved to be quite a handful, with 2 attacks each and a toughness of 4, I believe. They set about. Far off, Blackhead Bill, Azraela and Gwendgoth, and injured each and every one of them. On many occasions, Blackhead Bill and Gwendgoth seemed to glory in the fact that they could completely miss their enemy, and at the same time, Faroth spent most of his carefully healing back all the wounds that were lost. Now, at this point, I think there must have been a sort of problem with the photographic imp, because in a moment, as it turns out, the adventurers managed to dispatch all of the ghouls, or nearly all of them. A few ran away because they do break, and then there seemed to be some sort of collapse because we go straight into the next room. I believe some photographs, that's what they're called, I think, were lost. Anyway, in the next room we were surrounded, or not surrounded, but confronted by a group of spiders. Now, Gwendgoth particularly hates spiders, and wasn't looking forward to this. However, as it turned out, with her dark elf friend, Azraela, Gwendgoth, as you will see, set about the spiders and dispatched them in one round of combat. They never got a chance to actually web anybody. So that was all over and done with very, very quickly. And after that we moved forward towards what would end up being the last set of steps up towards the last room. Now yet again, I think there was a problem with the imp taking the photographs, because as you may notice, you can see that in the top there are actually some ghouls already in that room. They should be placed there. So I believe this was a retrospective photograph by the imp. But anyway, the adventurers up the steps and towards the last room, where they were confronted by a whole menagerie of evil creatures. Ghouls, bats, and a necromancer with a huge scythe, who'd been watching things from afar in a crystal ball, it seems. What were the adventurers to do now? Well, Gwendgoth tore into a ghoul and a bat and dispatched them quickly. Azraela also dispatched a ghoul at his side, while Faroth cast a lightning bolt upon the necromancer, causing him about 6 wounds, unbelievably, and then up through the centre, very extraordinary, stupid really, Blackhead Bill charged through because he felt he could get in contact with the necromancer, and he didn't want him to cast any magic at all possible. And taking out his hell mace, which he'd saved for this very last purpose, he struck her down, doing 21 wounds to the necromancer and killing him. The necromancer would never get a chance to cast a spell, not once. He lay there a bloody mess on the floor. The ghouls were so shocked. They surrounded Blackhead Bill, tried to beat him down. Everybody was in close combat. It was a very, very difficult situation, even though the necromancer had been killed. Faroth managed to cast a heal on everybody a couple of times, and then dispatched a ghoul with a lightning bolt, whilst Gwendgoth again dispatched another ghoul and another bat. Poor Blackhead Bill seemed to be surrounded, and was struggling very hard with the ghouls. He kept on missing, as did Azraela. Again, Faroth struck down a ghoul with a lightning bolt to give Blackhead Bill a chance, and then healed all of his compatriots very quickly with a Healing Hands spell. exactly the same healing spell that the last one was showing us. The imp there repeating himself with his photographs. And again, who's paying this man? Imp, I should say. Now, at this point, the last few ghouls were needing to be dispatched. They actually lost their nerve completely and broke from the combat, fleeing. They fled through seemingly secret ways out of the room and disappeared off into the ether, nothing to be seen of them. So our crew were left with in Nevom's, presumably his room, and the casket. No idea having what was in the casket, and we will have to find out what it is they find in there in another episode, I'm afraid. Well, thank you very much for watching. I've been Daxiom, as you well know. If you've enjoyed it, press the like button. Thank you very much.